Hello. Well, we are starting with a new article. This article is examined in different ways in your advanced auditing and assurance syllabus. Understanding the different types of risk is very important in securing a good marks in the exam. Risk forms part of the planning question, but it also examined in respect of the financial reporting issues elsewhere in the exam. For gaining a good mark in your exams and passing, you have to understand types of risk you are looking for and understanding how to write them in your correct context. As we all know that in ACCA, root knowledge is not important and not going to secure a passing marks. Instead, we have to understand as per the situation what is asked in the exam by the examiner and to write them accordingly. Understanding the different risks such as risk of material misstatement, audit risk, business risk forms an integral part in this article. And I, Amul, is going to inform you how to write different answers in this ACCA professional level for gaining pass marks through this article downloaded from ACCA website. Starting with the first type of risk, which is the risk of material misstatement. The risk that a material misstatement exists in the figures or disclosures within the financial statement prior to. So now what is the risk of material misstatement? Well, the risk of material misstatement is the risk that the financial statement of an organization have been misstated to a material degree. So we have to understand materiality, and if it is above the material level, then it forms the risk of material mistake. This risk is assessed by the auditors at the following two levels, such as assertion level. This is further subdivided into your inherent risk and the control risk. Having obtained and documented understanding of an entity includes internal controls, the auditor is now in the position to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement, which should be done at the financial statement level and at the assertion level for classes of transaction account balances. So now what is the material, that is the risk of material misstatement? The risk of material misstatement is the function of the following parameters such as inherent risk, control risk. Point to be remembered here that it doesn't cover detection risk. In effect of the risk of material misstatement is the susceptibility of the financial statement, accounts and assertions to meet material misstatement, and the risk that the client's current internal controls will be ineffective in product actively identifying and correcting the misstatements. Therefore, the risk of material misstatement exists at the financial statement and the assertion level for all the transaction classes, account balances, presentation, disclosure. Risk of material misstatement on the financial statement level. This is a risk of material misstatement on the financial statement level is the risk that the certain risk will affect the financial statement as a whole and potential have a major impact on several assertions. It is vital to consider the risk of material misstatement at the financial statement level because it is the potential to seriously hinder the auditor's ability to disclose an unqualified audit opinion. Factors that can increase the risk of material misstatement on the financial statement level includes managerial incompetence, poor oversight by the board of directors, inadequate accounting systems and records, declining economic condition, operations in rapidly changing industry. So, generally accepted auditing standard requires auditor to assess the risk of material misstatement at the assertion level for all transaction classes, account balances, presentation and attached disclosures. The auditor must develop audit objectives for each individual assertions and perform audit adequate procedures to accumulate the required audit evidences to achieve the audit objectives. Control risk is the auditor assessment of the risk that the material misstatement could be product of an assertions and not be properly identified and corrected by the client's internal control. So sometimes it may happen that adjusting events are not adjusted or non-adjusting events are not disclosed. So now, what is adjusting and non-adjusting events? Adjusting events provide further evidence of conditions that existed at the reporting date and result in adjustment in the financial statements. Non-adjusting events are indicative of a condition that arose after the end of the reporting period and do not result in adjustment in the financial statement. In short, adjusting events are those events which existed at the reporting date, and non-adjusting events are those which arises after the end of the reporting date, and so they are not in the result of the adjustment in the financial statement. Thus, adjusting events requires adjustment in the financial statements for the user understanding, whereas the non-adjusting events are to be disclosed. There is a risk of material misstatements that such adjusting events are unadjusted, whereas the non-adjusting events are not disclosed. It affects the reliance of the users on the financial statements. This creates a risk of material misstatements which the auditor has to identify and in his audit procedures and give a proper opinion on this. There is a risk that sometimes disclosures are not made. This creates a material misstatements. Ideally, the disclosures are made in the foot of the financial statements for the user's understanding. This disclosures plays a very important role. The very purpose behind giving a statement of accounting policies is to encourage better understanding of the financial statements. Further, it also helps in facilitating more meaningful comparison between the financial statements of various companies, and in our case, it is the client. An accounting policies disclosure helps in preventing losses. It also helps in preventing the misuse of the assets. Potential investors can study the available accounting policies to decide if they will invest in the business or not, and their decisions of the investment depends on such disclosures if made properly. So the auditor's role is to understand and to note whether such disclosures are made. And if such disclosures are not made, then it creates a risk of material misstatements and can deteriorate the reliance on the users on such financial statements. Moving to the next, revenue treated as a capital expenditure. Revenue, as the term says, it should be charged in your statement of profit or loss statement and not shown as a capital expenditure. The capital expenditure appears on your balance sheet side, and amortization and depreciation forms part of the capital expenditure. So if revenue is treated as a part of the capital expenditure, it creates a risk of material misstatement that revenue is understated and thus can overstate the profit. This creates an understanding that the profitability position of the company, whereas because of such revenue expenditure is shown as your capital expenditure, it creates a wrong impression. Auditor has to identify whether such instances are prevailing in the client and has to note in his working so as to give a proper opinion if they are uncorrected. Depreciation items. It is that depreciation and amortization, the risk of material misstatements is that if depreciation is not shown at the correct value, or if depreciation amount is understated, it increases the profit of the company, which is then appears in your statement of profit and loss figure revenue, and it is then shown in your capitals when it comes under your statement of balance sheet, that is the statement of financial position. Thus revenue and depreciation should be properly charged at the correct value with the correct method, else it will create a risk of material misstatement. Moving with the detail, that is deferred tax liability, if under recognized or not recognized, it creates understatements of the deferred tax liability. There is a risk which is understatements of deferred tax liability. So it should be properly shown deferred figures considering of your deferred tax assets and deferred tax liability. We are taking one question and we are also answering the same. Research cost expense immediately once incurred. Ideally, the development cost should be capitalized as an intangible asset subject to the conditions such as commercial viability and the technical feasibility met. If the research cost is capitalized, it could overstate the intangible assets and the profit. As the research cost is expensed immediately and it should be not shown under year and it should not be capital. Moving to one more example, patents. Ideally, the patents are recognized as an intangible assets at cost. They are amortized each year on the basis of their useful life. If the patents are not amortized or amortized over an inappropriate useful life, it creates that understatement of the operating expenses and overstatement of profit. Now moving to one more question with the answer. There is a unit of the organization. This unit is contributing more than the 15% of the total assets. As per the segmental reporting disclosure, if any of such unit of the organization is contributing 10% or more of the total sales, revenue, assets, profit or loss, then such disclosures are and it is shown under your segmental reporting, as it creates a significant operating segment as it contributes more than 15% of the total assets. Disclosure of results of operating segments in the notes to the financial statements. If disclosures are not made, the financial statements are materially misstated. Now moving to one more question, brands. Brands are intangible assets. They are material to the financial statements. Cost of an intangible assets and should they be amortized over the useful life. Here there is a risk that the estimated useful life, which is judgmental, estimates useful life. If the useful life is wrongly estimated because of the judgments, it can under or overstate the amortization expenses and the profitability of the company. Alright, now moving to one more, imports. As you all know that the imports are the raw material or the goods which are bought from another country to the importing country. The import is recorded at the spot rate as per your foreign exchange. They are retranslated with your closing rate. The risk is that if the wrong exchange rates are used under or overstatements the purchases and the liabilities. Because the imports are recorded at your spot rate and at the year end they are retranslated at your closing rate. There is a risk that if such rates are wrongly taken, then it affects the exchange rates at which they should be accounted. And if they are not accounted as per the relevant rate, as per the accounting treatment, it results in your under or overstatement of the purchases and the liabilities. It may happen that advance payments are done. These advance payments as per the revenue recognition are an unearned income because the service is not yet provided. They should be recognized when when the service is provided, that is the obligations are met. Till the time these advances if made are unearned income and they are the deferred income. The performance obligation will be met when the machine is delivered to the customer only when it is could be recognized. That is, the performance obligation is met. If any advances are made, then it should be shown as your unearned income and deferred income. If they are recognized as a revenue, then it overstate the revenue. Well, as the remaining whatever the amount is there agreed and and the obligation is met and the performance obligation is met, then they should be recognized as income when immediately when the control passes and meets the definition and revenue condition recognition. Now there is a risk that in your share-based payment plan, the liability and related expenses should be recognized each year in respect of the cash settled share-based payment plan by taking into account the share prices fair value at the year end. Now there is a risk that the management is not accounting or accounted as per the wrong rate. If they are doing so, then or if no accounting entries are made, the expenses and the liabilities is understated and the profit is overstated. This affects the reliance on the financial statements and it affects the investors' investing decisions. Thus, this is an risk of material misstatements. Moving with one more question. In respect to your deferred tax, the revaluation surplus gives a risk to the taxable temporary differences due to the difference between the tax base and the carrying value, for which the deferred tax liability shall be recognized. No deferred tax is provided, the deferred tax liability is understated. So, a proper audited procedures are to be there for checking whether such instances are happening within your client when you are auditing, and the auditor's role is to identify and to report it to the management for their correction. If they are uncorrected, then they should discuss with those charged with corporate governance. If they are not understanding them, the wrong entry, the reversal entry, what should be the accounting entry, and to ask them if they will adjust it correctly. If they are not adjusting, the auditor has also the right to discuss it in front of the members during the annual general meeting. The auditors may also take the legal advice while reporting it to the authorities, either compulsory or in exceptional cases when required by the law, rules, regulations, authorities, etc. In such cases, the client permission is not required because these are some exceptional. However, in other cases, the client approval is required while discussing with external authorities, because the confidentiality should not be breached, and this is the very important which the auditor has to keep in their mind. The auditors may also in some cases ask or deny the continuation of his office. Now moving with one more question, of which the capital and revenue recognition expenditure. As per the revenue recognition, the capital expenditure and the revenue expenditure differs. The capital expenditure is shown in your balance sheet, whereas the revenue expenditure in your profit and loss statement. If the management mistakenly or purposely charges the revenue expenditure capitalizes, then the correct revenue figures under capital expenditure is not shown, not reflected. So there is a risk that revenue expenditure is capitalized and revenue should not be capitalized. So this creates a risk of material misstatement, and it should be capitalized. by the management, then it overstates the non-current assets and understates the expenses, because the capital expenditure is your part of your balance sheet and revenue is your part of the profit and loss. So if revenue expenditure which is appearing in your profit and loss statements is not there, then it understates the expenses and this increases the profits. It also affects the balance sheet figure because there is a overstatement of non-current assets expenditure. Now moving with one more question. Indefinite life is annually reviewed for impairment. The impairment testing is to be done to understand whether the carrying value and the recoverable value, what is greater. If the recoverable value is lesser than the carrying value, the impairment is happening, and this impairment testing is thus very important in your ACCA professional. So thus impairment testing has to be performed. This loss which is recognized in your profit and loss of the impairment loss, there is a risk that the recoverable amount was wrongly determined. It could happen that it understates the impairment loss. So this is a risk, that understatement of impairment loss. There is one more case, like sales of the clients have increased by X percentage over the last year, whereas the inventory holding period has increased. So now there is a risk that of misstatements, and it may also happen that the fraudulent financial reporting, because the sales are increasing by X percentage over the last year. However, the inventory holding period has also increased. Inventory holding period shows the number of days and average that a business holds inventory. To calculate the inventory holding days, we divide inventory by the cost of sales and multiply by the answer by 365 for holding period in days, or by 12 for holding period in months. Ideally, inventory level rises if production exceeds sales and falls if sales exceeds production. Inventory level negatively impacts cash flow and warehousing capacity, and a sharp decrease in sales can lead to obsolete inventory. Thus, it is important to balance production rates and the inventory with sales volume. So this creates that the sales has increased by X percentage over the last year. However, the inventory period is increased. Ideally, the inventory period when the sales have increased should go down. This creates a risk of material misstatements that the fraudulent financial reporting has taken place. The auditor has to perform his audit and plan accordingly his audit, and to complete his audit and to check whether it impacts on your audit opinion and audit report. Now moving with the audit risk. The audit risk. Generally, the auditor responsible should focus on how the team will obtain evidence to reduce the risk identified to an acceptable level. Their objective is confirming whether the financial statement assertions have been added to and whether the financial statements shows a true and fair view. Audit risk types such as control risk, detection risk, inherent risk. Control risks are the risks that potential material misstatement will not be detected or prevented by the client's control systems. Detection risk. Detection risk is the risk that the audit procedures used are not capable of detecting a material misstatement. Inherent risk. Inherent risk is the risk possessed by an error or omission in a financial statement due to factor other than A failure of internal controls. In a financial audit, inherent risk is most likely to occur when transactions are complex or in a situation that require a high degree of judgment in regards to financial estimate. The example of inherent risk is that non-audit or non-routine accounts or transactions can be presented some inherent risk. So, this inherent risk are material misstatements assuming that there are no controls in the company. They are going to be inherent, that is, they are going to be by default in the audit procedures. Auditor is not expected to audit all the areas in a detail. He is expected to give a reasonable opinion. Auditor is not a bloodhound, whereas he is the watchdog. Watchdog of the financial statements being prepared and presented by the management to the auditor. And the inherent risks are sometimes embedded into the financial statements. They are an integral part of the financial statements. So inherent risk sometimes presents in auditing procedures. Also, there are the susceptibility chances like account balances to material misstatements like window dressing, assuming no controls. Inherent in controls are sometimes not available, or income is overstated, expenses understated, assets overstated, liability understated to show a correct financial position. The auditor, that is the management, looks after such manipulation, and it is not possible for the auditor to find such deviation 100%. Auditor may escape from this liability, professional liability, if he proves that he was unaware, he has carried out his audit procedures completely, he has documented whatever the source of information which the management has informed based on the assertions, audit procedures. Moving to the control risk. As earlier informed, control risk, such as the risk that the controls in the organization fails to prevent, detect a material misstatement. Because there are no NEDs in the company, non-executive directors. NEDs are some which are having the NEDs in non-executive directors are the directors who are independent. They are not executives of the company. They are not looking after your day-to-day affairs of the company. NED has to be present to keep a proper control over the performance of the executive directors. They also forms a very important role in several audit board committees. Sometimes it may happen that the internal audit department is not there, so it again raises the control risk issues, because if internal audit is not there, it is not possible for the statutory auditor, that is the external auditor, to find all, to do audit of each and every procedures in detail like the internal auditors are doing periodically. Sometimes it may also happen that the controls are either weaker or inadequate controls, or the control is not able to remove the effect or improve the risk situation, that is the risk mitigation. It increases the chances of material misstatements in the financial statements. So now, as we understood by now that risk of material misstatements covers only the inherent risk and the control risk, whereas the audit risk covers three. It includes detection risk along with inherent risk and control. Detection risk, again telling you, because it is very important to understand ROMM and audit risk. If in the situation the examiner asks you for the audit risk, then you have to write all these three kinds of different risk in your answers. However, if the ROMM question is being asked, then the detection risk should not be coming in your answer. It won't gain any marks. The examiner will reduce your marks and it will unnecessarily increase your timing with no result. Detection risk is the risk that the auditor will not detect a misstatement that exists in your assertion that could be material either individually or in aggregate with other misstatements. So now inherent risk, which is a part of your ROMM as well as your audit risk, includes overstatements, understatements, such as overstatement of your sales as understatement of your expenditure liability, disclosures not made. Control risk. Non-executive directors, if available, it results less risk of material misstatement. Non-available non-executive directors, it increases the risk of material misstatement. This importance because non-executive directors monitor the performance of the company and offer constructive ideas and solutions if required. Act in the best interest of the shareholders. Non-executive directors add additional experience and creditability to the company's board. It expands the intellectual and strategic resources of the company. They are independent and they are not looking after your day-to-day affairs. They keeps a proper track over executive directors. That's why availability of non-executive directors with experience, independence, it reduces the risk of material misstatement. And if they are not available, then it increases the risk of material misstatement. Moving with the second control risk, such as inherent internal control, internal audit. If internal control and internal audits are available, then it reduces the risk of material misstatements because the internal auditor audits and gives recommendation, opinion, asks the management to correct the deviations if any. They looks after whether the accounting procedures is being properly followed as per your generally accepted practices, financial statements. But if they are not available, internal audit, then it will unnecessarily increases the pressure on the external auditor. External auditor objective is totally different from the internal audit. External auditor doesn't have much time and his responsibility is to audit the financial statements and give their opinion, which is later shared with your shareholders. Moving with the detection risk with the example, risk that the auditor fails to detect a material misstatements. It is your audit risk. However, it doesn't comes in your risk of material misstatements answers, such as auditors sometimes inappropriate with the sample. Sampling is very important. Sampling, auditor is not expected to audit everything. He is based on the samples, based on your materiality level, materiality threshold level. There should be a proper materiality level being determined. If it is not being properly there, then it increases the risk of detection because it won't be able for the auditor to detect such risk prevailing in your statements, the financials, and it unnecessarily affects the reliance of the end users, stakeholders in their investment decisions. Junior working on risky areas. Ideally, it is the case that the seniors are having much experience. Juniors doesn't have much experience. Juniors working on the areas, if they're risky, then it won't give a proper audit. It won't be able to perform the proper audit. Thus, juniors segregation of duty should happen between the juniors, seniors. audit managers, that is partners doesn't have a proper time to look after your audit each everything. So audit partner is expected to review only the selected major areas. Audit manager or audit seniors looks after the risky areas. Juniors should not perform, or they should the seniors persons, like they should be working in a team and not solely, and they should not be looking only. There should be a proper segregation of duties, review practices, proper leadership, proper monitoring. Then also a planning, because planning is very important in your audit. A planned properly, it understands how to perform the audit strategy, audit opinion in the previous financial years. What are the risky areas? A proper planning meeting should be set between the audit partner, audit manager, audit members who are the teams. A proper segregation of duties should be done, and if it is not done, then it increases the risk of detection. Again, explain as above, a proper review of work, supervision, leadership is not there, then it again results a detection risk. Not skeptical. Auditor is expected to be a skeptical professionally. Auditors can have their reliance on the experts being appointed either by management or by the auditors. However, auditor is solely responsible for all this. He is expected whether the proper experience of such experts, others if required, based on their experience, knowledge, previous meetings, so on. And if it is not affected, and if it is auditor is not skeptical, then it increases the risk of detection. Now again, moving to some questions and answers. I believe that this is very important in understanding this article. This article is very important, so much practice is required, which I am taking with you. Listed companies. Normally, it is happening that in a listed company, there is a greater pressure on the management to achieve targets, which increases the risk of materiality issue. And there is a risk of management bias in manipulating results. Thus, there is a risk of financial statements if materially misstated. Again, it may happen that the listed company have a greater pressure on the management to achieve the targets. If a listed company, then good performance of the company will increase the share price. Increasing the share price, increasing the profits for the company. Thus, the management is pressurized to show a better performance. And if they are getting listed or already listed, then having a good performance increases the market price of the share. This increases the risk of management bias in manipulating the results. Thus, the financial statements could be materially misstated. Sometimes it may happen that the auditor is appointed for the first time to audit. This is referred to as the first year audit. The first year audit is very risky because the opening balances as per your previous financial statements should be properly be hitted and appearing in your, that is balanced forward to your current year properly. If those are not being properly identified, or if those balances are not properly shown, then there is a risk that opening balances are wrongly stated. If wrongly brought forward by the management, the financial statements are materially misstated because the brought forward figures from your previous financial years, if it appears in your current financial figures, and if the brought forward figures are not being properly hitted or not being properly brought forward to the current financial years, then it may happen that it increases the risk of material misstatements. And thus, first year audit is very risky and it increases the risk of material misstatement. Sometimes it may happens in the question that the question is being asking you that the finance director or the senior finance person has left. If such director of the finance who is looking and handling your finance, if he or she leaves, then there is no oversight on your financial statements. The other persons who are working in your team can complete the financial statements of that particular quarter, particular year, particular period, but it may happen that the finance director or any other senior leader of the finance, if he or she leaves, then it will not be able to 100% assure that the financial statements are being properly presented, properly drafted, properly presented to the auditor. Thus, this increases the risk of overall risk of the material misstatements in the financial statement. Now, there is a question on the first year audit. The first year audit can be little rough. Auditor spends an additional time in the first year to gain thorough understanding of the company and its internal control in order to assess the risk of material misstatement and the resulting auditing procedures. So there is a risk that the auditor will be having a less knowledge of business of the client. This increases the detection risk in the first year audit, and the auditor cannot means is not be 100% knowledge base of the client, and this may affect in performing the audit, in planning the audit, because this is the first year auditor. If he has to communicate with the previous year auditor, and if there is no such previous year auditor, then he has to perform additional procedures in this audit, and this increases the detection risk. Moving with the question that the remuneration is based on the bonuses, loan negotiation, that and there is no internal audit, or the finance director has left, or new audit client, there is a risk that the management bias in manipulating the results to show a better performance. This manipulation is done by the management because they are burdened to show the good performance. A good performance will increase their remuneration if they are based on the profit share based, so on. Or if they sometimes happens that they are based on the bonuses. Now again, if the auditor is now again if the company is looking for your loan negotiation, that is the company is looking for a loan requirement, then the bank or the secured party from whom they are going to get a loan, they have to, and in their loan proposal for requirement of the loan, they have to present the financial statements of the company. Based on this, the evaluation of the performance is being done, and based on this, the auditor is asked for the audit. Now, sometimes it may even happens that the internal audit function is not functioning, or there is no internal audit. In practical situation, there are several companies in such practices happens, and sometimes it may happens that the experienced person from the finance is left, or the finance leader or the director left, or new audit client is there and we are accepting a new audit for our firm, then it is prone to the error because there are so many transactions and it is not possible for the auditor to evaluate each and every transaction. So there is a determination of the materiality level, and if the transaction increases the material as level, then they are being audited. But it can even happen that these transactions are in thousands, n number of figures. So it is not possible every time to audit these procedures, and sometimes it may happens that based on the sampling, the auditor leaves his opinion. Now this is again not cannot be assured that the audit opinion is being correctly obtained. And this increases the management bias in manipulating the results to show a good performance, and which are risky. Now moving to one more case study. Answer all these case studies are your questions. I will take your exam questions at the end. Receivable days have increases. The risk associated is that the bad debts are not being properly recorded, or they are omitted from the recognition because it increases your P&L debit side, and the profit reduces if the bad debts are there, and that's why they are either been unrecorded or recorded at the lower amount. And this, if bad debts are not recorded, then such figure is shown in your accounts receivable side, happening in your statement of your financial positions, and this could overstate or profit could be overstated. Inventory days increased. There might be many instances where inventory days have increased. This results slow moving or obsolete inventory. If the sales are less than the demand, then it impacts on your inventory figure. If the inventory isn't sold for too long, it depreciates and loses its value. Excess inventory usually happens when you have products that have been sold because of the amount exceeds the projected demand. They do because they hope to sell the products for their full price, and if it is not met, then it impacts on your inventory and it increases the days. Now there is a risk that this recognition is not being properly done. Usually the recognition is based on the lower of the cost or net realizable value. If it is not being recognized properly as per your accounting IFRS standards, then it impacts on the inventory level, and there is a risk that the inventory is overstated whereas the cost of sales is understated. Sometimes it may happen that your sales of the client has significantly increased, but again your customer base has fallen. Ideally, sales should decline because the customer base is significantly fallen. Even then your sales has increased. This can be identified as the risk because the sales has the risk of material misstatement that they are overstated. Well, now moving with one more question. The sales has decreased by X percentage over the last year, and there is an economic recession. Consumer spending is depressed. There is a risk that, as shown in your question, that the sales has decreased by X percentage over the last year. However, there is an economic recession which affects the economy of the country, nation, and the consumer spending is depressed. So, what if the decrease in the sales is more than the X percentage as given by the question asked by the questionnaire in the exam, that is the examiner? So, there is a risk that these sales are misstated because the economic recession has badly impacted the industry and the competition is also been affected. The sales demands have fallen, and if the sales have decreased in actual by more percentage, however the management has informed that the sales has decreased only by X percentage, then the sales could be overstated in order to show a good position. Moving further to the business risk. A risk resulting from the significant conditions, events, circumstances, actions, inactions that could adversely affect an entity's ability to achieve its objectives and execute its strategies, or from setting of inappropriate objectives and strategies. So now, from business risk, we understand that those instances which affects the organization to achieve its objectives and its strategies, and these are inappropriate for achieving its goal, such as profitability. What can be more objectives of the organization? It can be productivity of people, resources, customer services, employee attraction and retention, mission, core values, sustainable growth, maintaining cash flow, dealing with the change, that it is not organization feel it difficult to deal with the change with the environment, reaching the right customers, staying ahead of the competition. Starting with 1 objectives, getting and staying profitable. Maintaining profitability means making sure that the revenue stays ahead of the cost of doing business, focusing on controlling cost in both production and operations while maintaining the profit margin or products sold. Productivity of people and resources. Employees training, equipment maintenance, new equipment purchases all go in the company's productivity. Objective should be provide all of the resources your employees need to remain productive. Excellent customer services. Good customer services help you retain clients and generate repeat revenue. Keeping your customers happy could be the primary objective of the organization. Employee attraction and retention. Employees turnover cost your money in lost productivity and cost associated with recruiting, such as employment advertising and paying placement agencies. Maintaining a productivity and positive employee environment improves retention. Mission core values. Sometimes our client's mission statement is describing of the core values of our company. It is a summary of the beliefs that your company holds in regular customer interaction, responsibility to the community, and employee satisfaction. The company's core value become the objectives necessary to create a positive culture. Sustainable growth. It is also the business objective that the growth is planned based on historical data and future projections. Growth requires the careful use of company resources such as finances and personnel. Also, this is one of the objective of maintaining a cash flow, such as our client with good cash flow needs financing contracts in the events that the capital is needed to expand the organization. Maintaining the ability to finance operations means that we prepare for long-term projects and addresses short-term needs such as payroll and accounts payable. It is also the business objective to deal with the change. Change management is the process of preparing our organization for the growth and creating processes that effectively deal with developing marketplace. The business objective of change management is to create a dynamic organization that is prepared to meet the challenges of industry. Reaching the right customer. It is also the business objective to reach the right customers. Marketing is more than creating the advertising and getting customer inputs on product changes. It is understanding customers' buying trend, being able to anticipate production of distribution needs, and developing business partnership that help our organization to improve market share. Staying ahead with competition. A comprehensive analysis of the activities of the competition should be ongoing business objectives for our organization. Understanding products ranges in the marketplace helps to keep determine how to improve standing among the consumers and improve the revenue. So the business objectives includes like profitability, goodwill, market share, competitive position, stakeholders. Business risk. We have when we are looking after the business risk, we have to look after the impact which is created on the business performance now or and later. In dose of the business risk, we have to think and link with the figures with the case study where possible. We have to identify why it is a business risk and how it affects the business performances. However, in business risk, care should be taken that we should not include understatement, overstatement, misstatement, accounting treatment, so on. Here are some of the examples of the business risk. Business risk such as in the question, if it is asked by the examiner that the company is a techno savvy and it is a technology industry, that is IT, ES, IT. So what will be the business risk in this? Now you might be aware that the IT keeps on changing. Like for example, if we see about our mobile phone, there are so many versions of Android are continuously being updated and continuously changes are happening. So it is very important to accept those changes, else it will be happening that we will be thrown out of the market by the competitors, because the competition is also growing, and this sometimes affects in achieving the business objectives. So we have to look after and keep the pace with the advancement in technology, else it will be happening that our business will be obsolete. We will start losing our competitive advantage. There should be a proper research and development expenditure, a plan budgeted and implemented and monitored, else it will also affect a huge cash draining, and it will affect our cash position, cash flows, liquidity. Now it is a second business risk example of import. In import, what will be the business risk? Well, in import, when we are importing the raw material or the goods from our supplier, there should be a proper lead time maintained by the business, because in import may happen that they are specific to the business environment, economic conditions, political issues, and if those conditions arises, then it will unnaturally affect our imports, that is the lead time, the stock which we receive from the customer, till the time the business, that is we, sell it to the customers and get the money from them. So this unnecessarily increases the lead time. Also, sometimes it may happen that if the demand is more than the production, the stock out problems will arise. With the Also, there are the changes like postal analysis, like political, environmental, social, technological, ecological, legal changes, issues affects the imports. There are also geographical conditions, because those countries are situated far away, then it will be taking time, and if we don't meet our demand in the market, then our customers will look after the competitors and they will switch away. So in order to retain them, a proper control has to be achieved. Poor quality raw material, it affects the compromises the quality. Sometimes it may happen that our customers are not satisfied with the imported material or with the finished goods which they receive. This will also create a business impact. Sometimes it may happen that our customers switched away to the competitors, and the competition increases and we will be thrown away from the competition, because our customer base will totally reduce, and this will affect our expenditure more than the benefits. So it will not be feasible for us to run the business. Bargaining power, sometimes it is happening that in the imported raw material, imported products which we receive, there is a bargaining power capacity, because the power of the customer, power of the suppliers is more than us, and this will affect our business bargaining power. Sometimes if the contract get cancelled of the imported goods, or there are some restriction, export restriction, then it will also affect the business. And these are some of the business risks. In the question, when we are writing the answer, be specific to the case study, what is the asked by the examiner. These are some of the examples which are equivalent considered to be the business risk. When we are purchasing a foreign currency, that is when we are purchasing goods in a foreign currency, there should be a forward exchange contract rate being booked while entering into such transaction or before. And if there is a huge change in the rates when we import and in the closing, and when the rates are being contracted, it will unnecessarily have a huge impact on the cash flows. So there should be a proper forward exchange being booked, so that it will be, and we will purchase at a rate specified, and this will be good for the business. But if this book forward exchange rates contracts are not being entered, it will create a business risk. Foreign exchange rate. Sometimes it may happen that there is a volatility in the exchange rates, adverse impact on the cash flow. This increases the pressure on working capital, cost of sales. Business liquidity is not good because the foreign exchange rate, if they changes, it will affect the liquidity position. It will also have an impact on the operating profit margin. Moving with the export revenue, well, there is a huge competition in the market, and if we don't care about the proper exports, it will be like the competition will be good amount of, and our customers will switch away, and this will also affect the growth. Sometimes it may happen that we as a company rely on some of the customers who is our main customer base. So there is a business risk that since we are relying on only limited number of customers, if those customers are unsatisfied or they change over to the competition, it will unnecessarily affect the business operations, business profitability, sales, and this will create a significant impact on the total sales, losing our customers. Sometimes it may happen that our customers are unsatisfied with the quality of the service. So there is a business risk that those customers who are unsatisfied, they will be lost by us. It will affect the profitability as the sales will fall down. Also, revenue falls. Sometimes it may happen that the production lines are not ready. This creates a compliance risk because we have to give when the production lines will be ready, because we enter into the some of the licenses contract, and if we are not ready, then it will unnecessarily create a legal risk, compliance risk with the laws, rules, regulations stipulated as or agreed between the parties during the contracts or agreements. Sometimes this will also create a business risk as it will create penalties. It will also affect the reputation of our organization. Moving further to one of the case study being asked in your exams, these are all basically these are all your case studies being asked. Only the thing is that I don't want to at present to go each and every case study from your exam. However, these are the situations being asked by the examiner in the exams, and these are only I wanted to share with you for your understanding. And if those questions are asked in the exams, you will be able to answer them accordingly. So if a business converts an OD, that is the draft, in a long-term finance, this create a business risk because the main objective of the short-term finance requirement cannot be switched with the long-term finance requirement, and if it does, then this create a business doubt does not have ability to pay its short-term obligations, liquidity problems. So this is again a business risk. Sometimes in the question it may be given that new directors are appointed. So this create a business risk that those new directors who are appointed, they will be unnaturally having a limited knowledge of the business. They will be less limited aware about the systems, policies, culture, what is going on, how the business is growing. And in order to gain that information, that understanding, it will increase the time. And this will result that the new directors as a business risk. Joining just before the year end. Well, basically, just before the year end, if the finance guys or if anyone who is at a lead position, if they joins, this will create a business risk because they will not be able to understand what exactly the business requirement are, what the business should do, and their decisions, if they are taken based on their previous experiences, previous companies where they have worked, it will affect, and this will may sometimes result to a wrong decisions being taken, and it will impact on the business objectives. It is also the case that industry, now we are all aware that it is not so easy for a business person to start a new office, because it will, when we start, our fixed cost increases, our cost increases, there will be situations such as environmental situations, external environment, political, economical, social, technological, ecological, legal environment, which will have to be considered, and this carries all a potential impact on the business. When we are starting with a new business, we will also require a bank loan, and this will create a, though it will be creating, though the business person will get the funds, however he has to also pay the business interest on the loan which they receive, and this will increase the finance cost. It will also create a gearing risk. Also, the infrastructure for developing the business is huge, and it is also expensive. There are also the repairs, maintenance, higher operating cost more than the operating benefits. Operating losses will happen. It will also lower the profit. There is also a business risk in the political instability, as it affects the future sales forecast, profitability forecast, political instability. Investment sometimes seems like it doesn't won't be able to provide the returns as and how they are being estimated, and return will take a very long time to encash. And sometimes if it happens that the political instability is there, then our stakeholders who are from outside the nation, so on, then they will not like to do business with the organization because of the instability in the political situation. And these are also, it will also create a business risk. Sometimes it may happen that the local legislation requires compliance, and if it is not possible to comply with such rules regulation, it will create a compliance risk. It will also affect the reputation because they require huge fines, penalties. It will, the public will come to know that these organizations are not complying with the local rules regulations, and so they will not like to do the business with us, and it will affect us. These are some of the business risks. It may also happen that the key selling points, what the competitors are providing, we are unable to provide. Or it may happen that as the passage of time passes, the key selling points which initially we were used to do, we are currently unable to do. And this will also affect the investment strategy. This will also affect the investment, leading to the wrong decisions. It will create a dissatisfaction knowing that such facility is not being offered at the business, and then our customers will not like, because if they are looking for such facilities, and if such facilities, that is the key selling points, are only not being offered by us, they will naturally they will move on to their competitors who are providing this facilities, and this way it will also affect the business. Sometimes it may happen that we take a wrong investment strategy, and this will lead to a political instability. Sometimes, as the local rules regulation changes, we have to change, and if we won't, it will create compliance risk. Sometimes it may happen that new capital expenditure, we are it will create an adverse impact on the profitability. It will affect the business goals, and this may sometimes, if the management is pressurized, they will have unrealistic goals, and this way the capital expenditure is not, means it will create a business risk. Sometimes it may even happen that the damages in the business have to be hold. It will unnecessarily create a huge expenditure to repair them. The sales will be affected till the time the business is resumes, until it is repaired. Customers might claim for any loss or damages caused to them, and there will be also, means if any contract is entered, and if it is not possible for the organization to fulfill it, this will unnecessarily create a loss to the organization through payment of fines, penalties, breach of the conditions stipulated in your contract agreements. This will also have the probability of the environmental risk. Sometimes it may happen that the environmental damages will lead to fines, penalties, reputational risk. So this is what your business risk is. Now we look after further. For a risk of misstatement to occur, there must be an inherent risk of an item being misstated, and a risk that the client's control did not identify and connect with the misstatement. When you are asked to evaluate ROMM in an exam, the examiner is looking for those inherent and control risks, and in many cases, this arises underlying the business risk. For something to be an audit risk, there must be either a risk of material misstatement or a detection risk. The risk that the auditor procedures do not identify a material misstatement in the financial statement. Moving further, how to apply the knowledge. It is reminded to those who are hearing this that and the students of the ACCA, that they are asked to draft the answer according to the situation being asked in the question, and there shall not be any hypothetical risk, wrong assumptions being taken by the examiners, students, for attending the audit engagement risk. Therefore, these definitions are so that you know what type of risk you are looking for in a question, but the marks will be awarded for your evaluation of this risk. The article gives and publishes a extract from September-December 2015 question. The question is as follows. Delhi company established 20 years ago and has become known of the leading supplier of machinery used in the quarrying industry. with its competitors operating quarries which extract stones used to mainly for construction. The machine and the equipment made by the Delhi company are mostly made in order The machines and equipments made by the Delhi company are mostly made in order to company's three manufacturing sites. Customer approach Delhi company to design and develop a machine or piece of equipment specific to their needs. Where management consideration that the design work will significant the customer in required to pay a 30% payment in advance, which is used to fund the design work. The remaining 70% is paid on delivery of the machine to the customers. Typically, a machine takes 3 months to build and a smaller piece of equipment takes an average about the 6 weeks. The design and manufacture of the bespoke machinery involves payments in advance has increased during the year. Delhi company also manufactures a range of generic products which are offered for sale of all customers including drills, conveyors and crushing equipment. So now the article mentions that for the business risk, the purpose of the exam that these risks are usually be though in the terms of conditions that may have a prevent a business from meeting its objectives and might include risk to achieving future profits or cash flow or to business survival. You will not gain marks for defining the business risk. You will be asked to evaluate this risk, nor will you receive credit for describing what a client could do to mitigate those business risks. As said in the ISAs, the focus business risk evaluation as a part of audit process is identifying matters that could impact on audit planning. In particular, matters that could give rise to risk of material misstatement or audit. So the examiner will give 1.5 mark for identifying only without meaningful explanation. For a briefly explained business risk, 1 mark will be awarded, and full marks will only be awarded where a well explained business risk is presented. So, in the box, the writer says for identification only half mark. The company manufactures bespoke machines for clients which may take 6 months to complete. In an exam, an answer that merely repeats facts from the case study is unlikely to attain many marks. In a business risk situation question, it can score half mark for identification only as the implication for the company have not been considered. Identified and well explained carries 1 mark. The company manufactures bespoke machines for clients which may take 6 months to complete. During this time, the company have fund tied up in the work in progress. This point cannot score full marks as there is a development of why there is a risk. How does it impact on the business or audit? So a full mark will be a company manufactures bespoke machines for clients which may take 6 months to complete. During this time, the company has fund tied up in work in progress, which could give rise to the cash flow problem, especially as the 30% of the deposit may not cover all the upfront cost. This service has increased in the year, putting further strains on cash flows. It is also possible that risk can have other implication or other alternative description that are valid, and if the answer was developed in one of this direction that could still attract credit. For example, the following would also have an appropriate way to fully explain the same risk. Identified and well explained carries full mark. The company manufactures bespoke machines for clients which may take 6 months to complete. There is a risk that a customer cancels the order after the company has spent significant funds on the design and manufacture of the machine. This will have put strain on the company cash flow, and it's unlikely that the machine can be sold to a different customer for the same price due to bespoke mature. This may mean that the company makes a loss of the sale of the inventory or cannot sell it at all. In an exam such as this, it is reasonable to assume that the examiner has given you such piece of information for a reason. It is likely to relevant to one of the requirement, and the examiner will often flag if there is a areas which you should not consider. A good technique is to try and identify risk in such paragraph. There can be more than one, but there is unlikely to be a section of text that does not flag something relevant for at least one requirement. Another thing to watch for this description risk are the speculative or insignificant in the context of the scenario you are given. There will be sufficient risk areas described in the scenario to score maximum credit if they are well described. If you find yourself hypothesizing about potential issues that may affect the client, but you don't have enough information to know if it is a risk or not, then you are likely to be making irrelevant or marginal points. While it is true that a valid risk beyond those on the marking guide can attract credit, it is a much easier and less risky to use that the flagged by the examiner. Moving with the risk of material misstatement. Risk of material misstatement often follow from business risk and are the impact that those risks might have an impact on the financial statement. It can be good practice during the preparation for the exam to try link of how a business risk might affect the financial statements every time you are analyzing them. You are looking to convert that the business risk into an impact on the calculation or disclosure of items within the financial statement. When describing the risk of material misstatement, an effective approach is to use the following step to construct your answer. Calculate and conclude on the materiality. Briefly describe the relevant financial reporting requirement. There is no credit awarded for the accounting standard names or numbers. Only for the accounting treatment is important. Relate the risk to the scenario to the accounting treatment. Illustrate the impact of the risk on the financial statement. In general, there will be credit available for each of these processes, and you should recall that this approach every time you tackle equation requirement on the evaluating risk of material misstatement. Moving with one more, revenue recognition. The company receives a 30% deposit for the design of this bespoke machinery. Revenue shall be recognized over a period of time when control is passed. Such points will be determined by the contractual terms. Payment received in advance of control passing should be recognized as a deferred income. There is a risk that revenue might be recognized early when the payment is received rather than being deferred. This will result in an overall statement of the revenue and understatement of the liabilities for the deferred asset. Because the revenue should not be recognized for the 30% deposit, and it should be accounted when the control is being passed. Such point is yet to come, and it is determined by the contractual terms. Payment received in advance shall be recognized therefore as a deferred income and not as a revenue. If it is recognized as a revenue, then there is a risk and it will understate the liabilities and overstate revenue. Moving with one more, inventory valuation. The company manufactures machines over a period of up to 3 months. This gives a risk to the situation to work in progress. Work in progress is valued at the lower of cost or NRV, where cost includes all the cost of purchases and conversion include overheads of getting the item into its present location and condition. There is a risk that an order for the bespoken machinery is cancelled and the inventory net realizable value falls below the net cost incurred. Thus, this will create a result in the overstatement of the inventory or asset in the statement of the financial position and understatement of the cost of sale. Therefore, an overstatement of profit. Note that we did not receive a sufficient information to calculate the materiality in the statement. So in the situation, if the examiner doesn't give the number, it will not be possible for us to calculate the materiality. In such case, only the treatment and the risk are required. Now moving to the audit risk. Where you are asked to evaluate audit risk in an exam, much of your answer will be in the same as for the requirement asking the risk of material misstatement. As audit risk includes control risk, detection risk, inherent risk, whereas the risk of material misstatement, as informed earlier, doesn't cover detection risk. Example of detection risk could include a recent appointment as the auditor, inexperience in a client new market, or time pressure for the audit. If the information provides the explaining example we have been using include the following information. So now the case is given which states you are the audit manager of Daily Company, a new audit client of your firm. The partner are asked to plan the audit for 31st December 2015 and has provided you with the following information for the discussion with the client. Then in the addition of the risk of material misstatement, we have discussed there will be an additional audit risk. We are newly appointed auditor of the client and as such do not have the same level of understanding of the client business and control as we would for an existing client. As such, we may fail to recognize certain risk of material misstatement or may apply inappropriate procedure due to the lack of understanding. In addition, we have not audited the opening balances. So there is a risk that the opening balances may be incorrect, inappropriate accounting policies have been used. There are two common errors candidates are required in the exam around the issue of a new client. Some candidates consider that a new auditor is a business risk or give rise to the risk of material misstatement. This is incorrect. The underlying business is the same regardless and is only detection risks that arise. The second is to assume a new manager on an assignment is the same as having a new client. The audit partner and the knowledge of the client within the firm is unaltered, so there is a discussion of new manager to the audit resulting in a significant audit risk does not attract credit. It is important to note that from an exam point of view, none of this example requires a definition to be given of risk types. nor do they require any explanation of theories as a part of the answer. If the examiner asks you to evaluate risk, then presenting your answer using the approach of a subheading for each risk and the answer like those shown in the example above is sufficient. So now this article concludes that the focus on planning type of question where there is a specific requirement to describe one or more of the business risk of material misstatement, audit risk, and has laid the effective approach for how you can tackle this situation in the question to maximize your mark. Note that the risk of material misstatement is also relevant for matters and evidence question where the structure of the answer in those questions may be broader for the basic thought process is similar. This will be addressed further in the separate article.